Hello traders, good day to you all. This is Tom Willis from Opteck. Today it is the 5th of December 2013 and this is a daily market review for the current market status. We had several good announcements regarding the pound this morning. Not good announcements for the pound, but good announcements in terms of liquidity. Um, Definitely, we saw that market liquidized as was expected. So from yesterday's announcements, I do want to analyze the dollar index today as well to show you the perspective. What am I expecting to see? And to correlate that with the gold, we had a bit of a different situation yesterday. While the gold and the dollar both climbed higher at the announcements themselves, and using structure, we can begin to assume what will be the next step of the dollar in the markets. But still, we've got a pretty liquidized market. We had several good trades this morning, and we will have several good trades later on. Right now, we're approaching a specific announcement that it's not so important. But after that, we will have an announcement regarding the euro and the Canadian dollar with other currencies such as the dollar and the euro as well. Again, all very important announcements that we can assume that the market will express a lot of liquidity using the indication from the announcements. Because we've got such a complex day, I will analyze situations regarding the Canadian dollar, regarding the euro, and regarding the US dollar. I'm saying that always it's not the best option to trade a specific asset with a straight relationship with the announcements. If I'll find a good potential according to structure, I will notify you. But again, in this case, for example, let's say that the Japanese yen is the strongest currency at the moment and the Australian dollar and the New Zealand are the weakest. So any announcement will extend the strength of the relationship, meaning that the Australian dollar will lose an additional strength and the Japanese yen will gain an additional strength in front of it, although we may see the Canadian dollar, the euro, and the US dollar climbing up in front of the Japanese yen depending on the expression of the announcement itself. 3 o'clock, we've got another announcement regarding the Canadian dollar, another red announcement. And as I said, this week is a very good week to trade. If we will analyze the next several days as I did tomorrow, I did it at the beginning of the week. I said that we will have an announcement regarding the non-farm payroll, and we should have another announcement regarding the position of the federal bank. I think that this is the announcement. We can't use that basically. There was an expectation from Friday to see what the federal bank will decide to do, and again, only because we've received several good announcements regarding the economy in the United States, it appears to be that they may stop the purchase process earlier than March, which is the destination. Um, and again, there's a lot of worry in the market regarding that specific issue. And I thought that maybe on Friday we will receive an additional indication regarding that specific issue, but I think that maybe the next time that Bernanke will deliver a speech, then we will see the effect regarding that specific idea. We saw that the the US market dropped down yesterday and the day before that. It seems like the US market is beginning to form a corrective pattern. At least it's not dropping down significantly. And we can see that the dollar is losing strength during the European session and gaining strength during the US market's time frame. And we will need to reanalyze the dollar index to see what is our expectation. So generally for today, we've got a good trading session. We had an amazing trading session yesterday, although my expectation was that the gold will drop down as well. That wasn't the case. The gold and the silver climbed higher. We know that the gold and the dollar and commodities and the dollar, they've got a straight relationship because they are valued with dollars. But that's not the only issue. any kind of difficulty, any kind of bad announcement will cause traders to run into the gold. Gold investment for long term is considered to be the safe shore, just like the dollar. And in this case, what happened yesterday, while the dollar and the gold climbed up together, that was the expression of other ingredients regarding the gold. We know that the Australian dollar has a lot to do with the gold, with the value of the gold. We know that the situation in Europe has a lot to do with the condition of the gold. I can tell you that Greece, for example, expressed good indication yesterday regarding the economy, and something like 4 or 5 months ago, a bank from Greece stated that they're going to release a lot of gold to the market because of the difficulty that they encountered. And this scenario, um, while a lot of traders were expecting to receive a lot of gold back to the market, the price of the gold dropped down, and I assume that the expression of yesterday's announcement regarding the economical situation over there delivered an additional confidence that that won't be the case, meaning that the expectation that we had before wasn't forming right now, and it's logical that the gold will climb up as well. But again, we will return to a logical connection between the dollar index and the gold. As I showed you several times before, once I'm placing the chart of the dollar index on top of the chart of the gold, we can see the correlation, no question about that. But sometimes we can see that the market is indeed moving toward the same direction, the gold climbing up, although the dollar is gaining strength as well. So we will need to remember that the fact is that the gold has a diverse connection to the dollar, but still, on some circumstance, we may see them going toward the same direction. It's not an error. So let's go to the chart and let's begin to analyze the market. I've just talked about the New Zealand versus Japanese yen for a downtrend movement. That's a great potential. So it's the same as the Australian dollar versus Japanese yen as well. We can see a good potential for a downtrend movement over here. We can see that the stochastic climbed higher, RSI at the below. We've got a trend line which indicates the corrective pattern, and a drop below the trend line will indicate the continuance of this downtrend movement. Let's see which currency pair is suitable for us to trade for 1 minute. Let me just see if all the charts are correct. Yeah. Okay, so we've got the Japanese yen, which is obviously the strongest currency in the market. The pound is the weakest, so we can definitely use a 1 minute trade, not more 1 minute trade, but 1 minute strategy, 60-second strategy on this chart. Looking at this structure, we can say that we've received an A wave climbing up, a B wave dropping down, and a C wave is forming the uptrend at the moment. Let's locate a potential target for this uptrend movement. Okay, so a potential target according to the moving averages is a bit higher than this rate, a bit over here, something like this rate or approximately this rate. It will be a logical pullback to complete the entire C wave. Anyway, according to the strategy of the 60-second, we can't trade while the RSI is above the 50. So you should wait for the 50 level to be crossed, and then you'll be able to continue with the down movement regarding the pound using the strength of the Japanese yen. New Zealand versus Japanese yen. Put option is a logical expression over here. You can't trade this asset on the on-demand instrument. You will need to trade that on the high and low. Canadian dollar versus Japanese yen, a great indication. Again, stochastic climbing up just as it did before. We had an RSI below. Right now, that's the same position. A very nice downtrend movement, and we will have a nice downtrend movement over here as well. We don't have this asset on our system, but still, we can use the idea of the expression, meaning that if the Canadian dollar at the moment is expected to lose strength in front of the Japanese yen, we can definitely go and look for the strongest currency. At the moment, it is the Swiss franc. So if we will be able to express the Canadian dollar in front of the Swiss franc for a put option, that will be great. If not, then also the Euro, I can't say that because the euro and the Canadian dollar are approximately the same strength. So, you know what, leave it alone. You can't trade the Canadian dollar at the moment, although it's expressing a potential for weakness. Um, let's organize the market according to strength and weakness. We know that the Swiss franc is the strongest at the moment after the Japanese yen, then the euro and the Canadian dollar, approximately the same strength, 47, sorry. 46 will come up to here. So New Zealand and the US dollar approximately the same strength, and the pound is the weakest. Quickly and efficiently we know exactly what's going on. Again, pound versus Japanese yen, it reached a specific exhaustion level. I see it dropping down for um, the 60-second strategy. Again, it's only a part of the C wave. We've received a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4 right now is forming down. A fifth will climb up and then we'll be able to join the downtrend. Anyway, do not trade until you'll see the RSI dropping down below the 50 very nicely. Closing and dropping down below the 50. Let's see what we've got on other charts. Euro is approaching a downtrend potential over here as well. Very nice one. Place a trend line below the corrective pattern and wait for a cross. Australian dollar versus the New Zealand. We saw that the New Zealand is stronger. We can see the RSI is lower than 50. It's 48. I will wait a bit more to receive the indication that indeed it's dropping down. It's not an enormous difference between the Australian dollar and the New Zealand, but still a downtrend movement is logical. Exhaustion level, the stochastic RSI in the position, and a downtrend movement is logical. Australian dollar versus the US dollar, another potential to express the weakness of the Australian dollar. In this case, I wouldn't trade it because of the structure itself. It's not so clean as other potential trades, but still we can see another potential for weaker Australian dollar in the market. Australian dollar versus Japanese yen, we've talked about that. It seems like the market is already it's approaching a healthy point for divergence, and we can see that from the two lines. We can see that on the RSI, on the stochastic. Everything is aiming toward the same direction. So a put option over here will be very, very logical. In this case, when I've got such an enormous amount of ingredients combining together toward the same direction, I'm even avoiding placing trend lines and waiting for the cross. It seems like the perfect entry point at the moment. Euro versus Japanese yen, just stated that seconds ago. Again, a nice potential for a downtrend movement. We had an impulse movement dropping down, a choppy movement climbing up, reaching the area of the two lines. Stochastic is not exhausted enough, but again, we know that the Japanese yen is pretty strong and the Australian dollar is among the weakest currencies, so a downtrend movement is logical, although we haven't reached the exhaustion level on the stochastic. Nothing over here. Let's look at the oil. We had several good entry points along the way, very accurate entry points. And at the moment, we will need to wait for another downtrend movement so that we'll be able to catch this uptrend movement continuance. The gold and the silver, as I stated at the beginning of the webinar, we had a bit of a downtrend yesterday, and when the announcement came up, the market began to climb higher. At the moment, it seems like it's forming a 1, a 2, a 3, and right now it's falling for the 4. Eventually, the potential is to climb up at the moment, and across beyond this trend line, will indicate that we've completed the entire corrective pattern of the first wave and we're approaching a potential to climb higher and higher. So a good potential for an uptrend over here on the gold, but I would like to begin to use the expression of stronger gold when it will climb beyond the trend line, because that will be the expression of other traders pulling it higher and higher. Um, Basically, we had a very nice move on the gold yesterday and on the silver as well. All this uptrend caused a lot of traders to decide to sell their investment that they've invested around here. And from this image, we can see this choppy overlapping movement is showing us, no doubt, that indeed the market is selling the assets. The traders are selling the assets during this entire movement, and they are just waiting for this market to cross the trend line in order for them to return to the uptrend. So that's their indication, and it should be ours as well. An uptrend across, and we will be on our way for an uptrend movement. And to complete this session, I'd like to go over the dollar index as I promised, and to talk a bit about the announcements that we were expecting to see regarding the euro, the Canadian dollar, and the US dollar. Okay, so for several weeks, or let's not say weeks, several days, I said that the cross below this trend line will break the pattern that we were paying attention to during this entire analysis. And I said that it seems like from the beginning of this analysis, we've received an impulse movement climbing higher and a triangle forming over here. Now, the thing about triangles is that sometimes we will receive a spike toward the other direction, and then it will begin to climb higher. That is the potential over here at the moment. Again, a continuance of a fall below this area will open a new downtrend movement, and that is definitely an important point that we're approaching at the moment. You can see that the market is just fluctuating around the same levels, and that shows the expectation for huge announcements such as we've got yesterday, tomorrow, the non-farm payroll, that will definitely change the course of this chart. I believe that until then we will see the market bouncing higher and lower between the same boundaries of this triangle. Once we will have a sufficient cross, then a lot of other traders will follow that movement and will add to the strength of the movement itself. So in the meanwhile, my assumption, because I do believe in the elite wave analysis, is that we will see an uptrend crossing the trend line and climbing up, expressing strength for the dollar. At the moment, we're fluctuating around the levels, and we will need to wait to see what will be the outcome of the announcements. Again, even the announcements today may deliver enough strength to pull the chart toward any direction, and we will need to reanalyze that when we will receive the announcements. So we said that the euro, the Canadian dollar, and the US dollar will receive announcements. Let's look at the three different assets regarding the euro, Canadian dollar, and the US dollar. So euro dollar, dollar versus the Canadian dollar, and the euro versus the Canadian dollar. Okay. Euro versus the Canadian dollar. Definitely a very long-term uptrend movement. We can say that every time the market made a pullback to the range of the two moving averages, it just continued climbing higher and higher. At the moment, we're approaching the same area over here, and cross beyond this trend line will indicate an uptrend movement. This is an hourly chart. It's a long-term analysis. We will go to 15 minutes as well to view the lower time frame, but generally we can see that the market indeed is in an uptrend movement, and any pullback was just continuing the uptrend. Any pullback was to continue the uptrend. Let's look at the 15-minute scale. Okay, so even on a 15-minute scale, we can see that the RSI is approaching the 50 level, but still it's fluctuating around it. Stochastic reached the bottom, basically made the same thing over here, and my expectation is that indeed we will see a continuance of an uptrend. The announcement will deliver the striking point, will deliver the conclusion of traders regarding this specific chart, and an uptrend beyond the trend line will begin a new movement higher, not only for the 15-minute but also for the hourly cycle, and that will cause a strong and liquidized movement higher that will definitely continue the same structure. If you'd like to see a logical target for this uptrend movement potential, you can just use the channeling idea, and this is the logical potential according to channeling. An uptrend movement until 1.459 or 1.6, that will be logical for this uptrend movement that will occur, and that will be strong enough for us to use it for an uptrend movement. Let's look at the dollar versus the Canadian. The thing is that I want to go over the entire combination between the different currencies, and eventually at the end I would like to give the bottom line. So according to the euro versus Canadian dollar, we see a potential for an uptrend, stronger euro than the Canadian dollar. Going to the dollar versus the Canadian dollar, again we can see approximately the same image. This is an hourly chart, I remind you. Every time we had a pullback to the lines, we've received a continuance of an uptrend, and that was the aspect all along this movement. Looking at the current status of this chart, we can say that the market indeed dropped down in a very nice image of an A, B, and C pattern. An uptrend movement that will cross this trend line will continue the same aspect as we've got regarding the Australian dollar. And I gave a target for the Australian dollar, which is a bit higher than this one, a long-term potential. Again, let's use the same method of channeling. We know that the target, using the logic of this structure, will be climbing up this till this rate. Again, it's a specific cycle, and the target for this uptrend movement is approximately a bit higher than that, 1.074, logical target for this uptrend movement. Again, at the cross itself, we will receive a good indication for an uptrend movement, and then we will need to go to 15 minutes to see if indeed it crosses with a 15-minute chart beyond the trend line, and then we will have a signal for an uptrend movement. So we've analyzed the euro Canadian dollar, saw potential for an uptrend. We've analyzed the euro versus the dollar versus the Canadian dollar, saw an uptrend potential as well. Meaning that generally I expect the Canadian dollar to lose strength, the outcome of the announcement, and in this case the only question that we've got left is which currency will express the largest strength in front of the Canadian dollar, and this question will be answered through the euro versus the US dollar chart. Euro versus the US dollar chart, as you can see on a daily chart, we've received a 5 waves uptrend, downtrend movement, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've received an A, a B, and a C climbing up. We've completed the corrective pattern, and the potential at the moment is to gain strength in front of the euro. Whether expressing a stronger dollar in the market or a weaker euro in the market. So we may receive an equivalent announcement on the dollar that won't add strength or won't lose strength, won't cause a loss of strength to the dollar, but still we may receive that announcement on the euro, which will cause this downtrend movement and then gain strength on behalf of the dollar. 15-minute chart will reveal the inner structure of this specific pattern. we can see that generally we had an uptrend. It's just in the middle of the correction, but we can see how the market is bouncing backward and forward, backward, upward and downward. A very nice ABC pattern. I can even divide the waves very easily. We can say that this entire movement is the A wave. We've received 3 waves of the B wave. We received a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5th that's climbing up at the moment. We may have seen the top over here already. We may see a bit of a climb and then a drop down. The indication that will reveal whether this chart is losing strength going down, meaning a stronger dollar and a weaker euro, is obviously the trend line. Crossing the trend line below this pattern, it will open a new movement, a new impulse movement dropping down. So we're talking about a very liquidized movement. Generally, a lot of indication in the market is indicating a stronger dollar. That is my expectation. That was my expectation. That will stay the expectation until I see something different according to structure. So Euro Canadian dollar potential for an uptrend. Dollar versus Canadian dollar potential for an uptrend, Euro versus the US dollar potential for a downtrend, implying that the larger movement will be in front of the dollar versus the Canadian dollar for an uptrend. That completes our session for today. I wish you all the best with your trades. Have a pleasant day and bye bye.